Welcome everyone to our webinar today called Creating Light from the Darkness, brought to you by 7 Plus Circles of Hope, a nonprofit organization established after the events of October 7th to make professional psychological treatment accessible to the invisible victims of the war who are not eligible for state assistance. I'm Kimmy King, volunteering as a marketing advisor to 7 Plus, and I'll be your moderator today. With me are two of our incredible therapists in Israel, Dan and Shuli Polak. Welcome to you both, and thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kimi.
Glad to have you. So Dan is an art therapist and a senior instructor for therapists, as well as a veteran lecturer at the Ono Academic College. And Shuli is a clinical and medical psychologist, as well as a supervisor for psychologists and other mental health practitioners. After October 7th, they moved out of their comfortable home in central Israel and moved to kibbutz in the Gaza envelope to work with the survivors. So I would love to start there and ask you about that move to the Gaza envelope and how that personally affected you. I know you wanted to be closer to the victims, but how was that move for you, and how do you recover from the trauma you're seeing firsthand?
Okay. Well, it was Dan's idea, and I thought it was a good idea, but I was afraid to do it. It took me a while, and it is a very good feeling to do what you consider, what we consider as the right thing, as a meaningful and valuable thing to do. And so we are fortunate to do it, and we are thankful that we can do it. And it also avoids the helplessness we would probably meet if we hadn't done it. We're also fortunate to be together.
Mm.
So we lean on each other and we talk a lot, and we cry on a daily basis to each other because we hear all the time, hour by hour, terrible stories.
Mm.
It's not easy to handle it. We have our support groups, therapist support groups, and we try to be minded to ourselves and see if we need to refuel ourselves more than that. But feeling this mission we took upon ourselves is a very fulfilling thing.
It sounds like, and it sounds like you really wanted to be part of the solution.
Yes,
Yes,
absolutely.
yes. And I also heard a little bit of feeling that that it's a good thing you can do that, so turning it into a blessing, really.
Absolutely.
We try
Yes,
to.
yes. I love that positive spin. You know, we talked a little bit about trauma, but for our viewers who haven't personally experienced trauma or PTSD, how would you describe that? How does that show up in your work? What are the symptoms you look for and its impact?
Yeah. Well, trauma is a life-threatening event felt directly or indirectly as well. And post-trauma, it's actually we are not in the post yet. It still goes on. The war still goes on. The hostages are still kept in Gaza, so it's still ongoing. But post-traumatic stress disorder is actually re-experiencing the trauma, the life-threatening event again and again and again, because there are intrusive thoughts and feelings and senses that come up all the time. For example, people have flashbacks. They drive their car and they see the terrorists around them on the road because they really saw that when they escaped. So they can see that. Or people have nightmares of being kidnapped and being tortured because this is what happened to their neighbors and their friends, and they could have been in that situation. So it's being there and being and feeling it again and again. It's not an event of the past, and there are arousal symptoms. People are alert with being post-traumatic. You're alert all the time, on guard. you have to be very cautious of everything. So even if a door slams or a motorbike goes by, you're terrified.
Mm,
So in order not to be in touch with this, in order to dissociate from any trigger, many times there is avoidance of avoiding going to certain places, avoiding meeting people, avoiding uh, smelling anything that would bring back the terrible event, the
right.
frightening event.
So they're
So
self-isolating.
so many are self-isolating, yes, and this reduces life because
Mm,
okay, it squeezes what you do.
Life and quality of life.
Life,
mm,
life and quality of life. Of course, it's a spectrum like anything else. You have people who do more or less of it, okay? And the impact is in so many aspects actually. Um, yeah, many people have sleeping problems because of their nightmares, but also because they hear the terrible war noises around.
right. And
Okay,
the sirens.
and the sirens, of course. And so if they don't sleep, they function less, right? And their kids function less, and their kids regress, and they have to deal with that. And there is a lot of somatization, and it's a lot of eating problems, disorders, and anything you name actually on this could be the impact.
Right. And you said somatization. What exactly is that?
People have diseases, pains all over, a lot of
Mm,
fibromyalgia. That's what I'm saying.
fibromyalgia, sure.
Fibromyalgia. So people move less and they get fatter and so on. You know, it has
Right,
it
right.
goes on and on.
One
So,
patient of mine have scratches all over his body, no biological
Cause.
reason for it.
wow. So that trauma is coming out physically,
Mhm.
or you embody it and then you have
Yeah,
pain and
In a lot
yeah,
of ways.
wow. So it's a many, many impacts that
many,
you've got to deal
many
with.
effects in it. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I
And each
see.
individual has his way of showing the stress.
Right, right. And we'll talk about clients and ways you're treating. It's so interesting. There's so many ways to show PTSD. There must be also many ways to treat it. But before we get there, Seven Plus talks about the circles of hope, but I've heard you talk about the circles of population. Not sure what that means. So can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I would say there is circles of trauma and circles of population, as you say, but the most important thing that we try to concentrate is that we try to put these circles of trauma and put it into circles of hope. But the circles are beginning, of course, with the Gaza envelope civilians and the Nova festival guests.
Hmm.
But it's not end with those many hundreds of people, even a little bit more.
Thousands, tens of thousands.
Yeah, you're right. I was thinking just of the Nova. So it's tens of thousands, but on top of that, and the circles are the responders who went there in that day to try to help and to survive whoever can be surviving. Of course, as we said before, the kidnapped, which are almost 600 days
Mm,
in the Gaza district, starving and tortured, and of course, their families. Which is terrible events for them as well, maybe all Israelis. And many soldiers and many reserve soldiers who left their home and work and their career and families for 1, 2, 3, 4, even 500 days in 1.5 years. Um, and
mm.
it's so going on for so long, and it is exhausting for everyone. And I
Right.
would say one more circles is the therapist as well, who
Right.
serve all day long, all week, not we. So many, hundreds, maybe thousands of therapists.
Right. So it sounds like it cuts across
Actually,
Israeli society.
It
yes,
is.
and actually, they are the Houthi missiles from Yemen. So, and the missiles are could be day and night. So it's the whole country.
Okay.
Right, right. So you've experienced this terrible attack, which we'll talk about in a minute, but the war is ongoing and you're under missile fire, trying to deal with the trauma and the post-trauma. It it must be exhausting, like you said. That makes a lot of sense, actually. I want to go to that terrible day. Shuli, I know you volunteer with the Israeli Trauma and Resilience Center for communities affected by trauma caused by terrorism and wars, but I've heard you say that nothing has prepared you for what happened and what's going on now. Can you describe what you experienced on October 7th?
Well, I'd like to say first that nothing was ever like, nothing could have prepared us to that because there wasn't there weren't such days. It's not only the 7th, but there weren't such days since the Holocaust. And we have a saying, never again, because we believe that in our independent country, Holocaust can't happen.
Mm,
But it did. But it did in such a brutal way because people were raped, killed, kidnapped, burned in their houses. Their neighbors, their families heard this. They heard they heard they saw the on the WhatsApp groups they're crying for help, and their neighbors were themselves fighting for
For
not to
their
have
life.
fighting for their life, not to have this brutal ending themselves. So nothing can prepare to that. Nothing,
right.
nothing at all
Nothing
can
of that scale had happened.
absolutely. And we weren't here, thank God, at that time. But even knowing it from the outside is very terrifying. You
Right,
feel the helplessness and you feel the horror. It's
right. So you were aware of what was going on, but you weren't there at the time.
Mhm.
yes.
Right.
Not
And
being helping, not being able to help.
right, right. And I know that that's so in your DNA, so that must have been extraordinarily difficult to witness and not be able to do anything.
You hear people over here, but all over felt helpless.
Right, right. Yes, that's a terrible position to be in. So in terms of who you're seeing in your practice, who are you treating? Is it whole families, soldiers, the families of the kidnapped?
We treat mainly adults, Shuli and me, but 7 Plus, of course, treat children and adolescents as well. We treat elderly people. We do it individual, couple, family, and group therapy. Of course, we need to do a lot of parent consultations and
Mhm.
workshops, whatever. And we do work from time to time with soldiers as well. I do from time to time. Um, Actually, everyone around here, around Israel, need to be heard and deserve to have an access to get help.
Access to help. Right,
Yeah.
right. But not everybody does.
Not everybody does. Unfortunately, it's not realistic.
Right.
Everybody will.
Right. And actually, I've read preliminary studies that indicate at least 60% of Israelis are depressed. They're experiencing high-level depression. 30% are dealing with complex post-traumatic stress disorder. So we talked a lot about how there's different ways that people experience PTSD. How do you go about helping to treat that in all the way that it shows itself?
I would say the goal, maybe the main goal, is for helping PTSD is to try to make a way of, instead of re-experiencing the trauma as if it's going now, here and now, again and again, to make it to become a memory of the past. And as well, we talked about it, we try to integrate the memory into their lifetime, their lifeline as they experience it, because trauma has the kind of quality which cut life into two. The past is not connected to now, to the moment, and of course, there is so many difficulties to see future, at least good future, which wait for us. As we know, as if we have no past, we can't have future. And to have it, we need to combine it, a kind of, if we're talking about narrative therapy, we try to make the associative to narrative. Because when we experience trauma, we so many times as PTSD feel like not just then on October 7th, but since then, things are just happening to us. And we don't have almost no feeling of control of our life or meaning of what happens to us then, now, and what will happen to us next. So we try to use any method, any tool we know, but not just we, all the therapists of 7plus and other organizations that give helps. And it's almost as if there is all the ABC over it, because there is like EMDR, SE, ADP, whatever, PE that I use. It's a kind of method of helping post-traumatic disorder patients. Of course, art therapy, as we will talk about it later, therapy with pets, whatever works. I mean, the patient is in the center, and we try to combine, give him access to the best therapy which helps him. Sometimes it's cognitive, sometimes it's dynamic, whatever help we try to use.
Right. So it really sounds like it's personalized.
To reduce
Yeah.
the symptoms.
So reduce the symptoms and get back my life again.
Right. And when you talk about this timeline, I'm interested in this about integrating the past and the present. And that's just to have a cohesive narrative that someone can then look forward. Did I understand that correctly?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about survivors. You talked about first, you talked about the victims, and we try to remember and try them to remember that they're not just victims, they are survivors, which means you have the power. Shuli just talked about seeing or hearing or maybe reading people next to us, sometimes our family who got injured or even killed, and you are helplessness. But then when you talk with the people in therapy, you can remind them they were not absolutely helpless. You help yourself, you help your kid, you help your partner, you survive, which means you have so many powers, even so you forgot you do have it. So let's try to remember and get connected back to it.
Right. I got a little chill when you said that. So it sounds like it's almost about re-identifying I'm not a victim, that
I'm not
I have
just a victim.
not just a victim. It's not just what happened to me.
Mhm.
Right. I think that's important for everybody to hear.
It is.
Yeah.
Right. And so I know that Israelis are struggling. It's a difficult time. At the same time, I believe we've seen a lot of solidarity, and mutual commitment to be stronger together. Can you talk more about that?
Yes. Well, I think solidarity, mutual commitment, mutual responsibility is actually the key for hope, the key for resilience, because you're seen, you matter, you're not alone. It's actually the antidote, this togetherness is the antidote to the abandonment
Mm.
they went through. Okay? And it happened in a very, very strong and moving way. On the first days, people rescued helped evacuating people from their homes under danger. But they did it. They came to the kibbutzim and the moshavim and the towns that were and helped getting people out, and there were civilians who did it. And they came with nothing on them, so the whole country contributed, brought anything, clothing, food, sanitary toys, anything, because they had nothing. They were brought to hotels, but with nothing on them. And they were given a lot of things. People brought their expertise, they mental health professional came to the hotels, teachers, massage, anyone tried to be there for the others.
Mm.
It's a big, this togetherness is such a strong feeling. It's a big cure.
Group therapy, for example, it's a kind of tool of therapy which I think one of the most powerful methods of group therapy is achieved because you're coming into therapy not just to get help, but you are coming also to give help to your partner, to your peer groups. And when
So
you do help someone else, you get empowered.
right. So you're an active participant in healing not just yourself, but other people in the group.
Yeah.
Oh,
And a
that's
family,
beautiful.
every family, it's a group. Every couple, it's a group.
Right. And I would imagine in group therapy and also with solidarity and community that it's more difficult to self-isolate and to withdraw, that you have a reason to come out of your shell and to participate.
That's
Yes,
right.
yes.
It's
Right.
important.
Right. We've been talking a lot about therapy, and I know, Dan, that you do art therapy. I wanted to share some of the examples from your clients, and I believe we have a couple of slides on this. What are we seeing here?
Actually, we see a painting of 8 years old children, child, sorry, who were evacuated from his home with his family after many, many, many hours at inside, terrified. And I met him, of course, the name, I called him Adi, which is not his name, of course, but I do get permission to show whatever I'm going to show you. He was stuck. Trauma made blocks in life in so many ways, especially, or not, maybe not especially, but creativity as well. And creativity is actually, it's living. To be creative is to be alive. To feel like I have power to do whatever I imagine or want to. And children usually, if they're not traumatized, get easy path to creativity. It's a kind of play for them. But when I met Adi, he was not going to school, the temporary school that made over there in the town they evacuated to. He was not played with his friend. He was not able to go to sleep by himself or to stay asleep during nights. He was a kind of freezing in his life, blocked. And of course, creativity as well. And it took him a while, almost 1.5 months, 2 months, before he started in a lot of hesitation to create. And the first one that he did, I asked him, what do you want to paint? And he said, a family. And then he painted a house. So a house was a kind of theme on his way. And this was not the first one, it was actually the second one after one more month when he painted so many different parts inside the house, which give him and his family kind of defense
Mm.
for terrible terror which he already experienced. But when do so, he actually rebuilt his own power. And
Right.
he was, after 3 months, going back to school, going back to friends, and going back to creativity. I would say even living um, light of creativity,
Right. And he's created a conceptually safe space
safe
with all of
space.
these
And
defenses
mhm,
so he can feel
yeah,
protected. I love that.
many safe spaces and elements which help him to feel safe again and
Right.
child again.
Right. And then our next example is actually the title of our webinar, Creating Light Out of Darkness. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, I would say when people go to therapy and they are willingly and easily go to use art, they could have an open invitation. Take whatever you want and make whatever you want. But so many times, especially traumatized patients, they do not. So when they are willing, not wanting, but willing to use art for themselves, sometimes I invite them to a kind of more muvne, more construction way of
Mm-hmm.
making art. And
Mm-hmm.
this example is when I invite many people on the last 1.5 year to use charcoal and to make all of it black and then create light out of darkness. I mean, the creation process is do it with eraser. Out
Mm.
of darkness, you do whatever you want to do, and it's hard. Actually, it's hard work. It's a hard job to do the black and then to do the light. And you feel it in your body as well when you create light out of darkness. This one is 14, 15 years old,
Right.
adolescent, made by him.
Right. Amazing.
Um, and we are going to see another example, not right now, but maybe the next one. This is another kind of method that I use. I give people to make whatever they want to make by using art when try to combine to a good memory of childhood or adolescence. It depends, whatever they want to, and then use the fractions. I mean, actually, sometimes they are the ones that
Great.
Mm.
break their materials, and then they are invited to make another art piece out of the fractions, the fragments, or if it's two-dimensional, out of tears.
Mm.
And actually, when it's a group method, you can see so many ways of making making new things out of fractions. So many ways. We can see it over here. One example is that someone that tried to make it as much similar as he can to what it was, and another one that says, no, now I do a different art.
Right. Right. I love this
Using
concept.
what yeah,
Right.
it won't be the same.
Right. But
So
is
I'm not trying.
wholeness out of brokenness, out of
Yeah, I'm
broken parts.
building I'm building my new me.
Mm. And what about this one?
It's the same methods of charcoal and eraser, but then the one who did it, I would say about 45 years old man, he used color as well, but I bring it up because so many of the civilians in Gaza envelope were talking about the nature.
Mm.
Nature they are so much missing
Right.
before they came back to their home. Some of them did not yet back to their home. Nature and the memory of nature and the chibur, connection to nature is one of their power, and they're missing to go back home, to go back to nature.
Right. That makes a lot of sense. So, in terms of the future, how do you see your situation moving forward? What does the future look like for you? And how do you think it looks like for Israel?
Well, I can't tell about the future, but I can tell what I'm hoping and praying for. And there was the Israeli song to the Eurovision last week was "A New Day Will Rise," and this
Mm,
new day we are looking for is getting out of the terrible place we are in right now, and so that we could live in peace with our enemies and peace within ourselves, and rebuild and repair our communities and become again the Jewish liberal, thriving, compassionate, justice, democracy we used to be and we are supposed to be. So this is the future I'm looking for, and we are away from it
With
right now.
all the kidnapped back at home.
With all the kidnapping back at home.
right.
It,
A restoration
it
of the
won't be
whole.
able, yes, it won't be possible without them.
Right, right. Well, we just have a few minutes left, so I wanted to thank you very much for being here with us today, learn more about what has happened, what we're doing about it, how you're responding, and how 7 Plus is helping. I want to remind viewers that our sponsor for this webinar today is 7 Plus Circles of Hope. You can visit our website to learn more on how we're helping build resilience back into Israeli society. I hope I think we all hope this webinar has brought additional insight into what's happening in Israel. And I want to thank everyone who's with us today for watching. If you'd like to make a donation to 7 Plus, this is our URL on the website, and you can make a donation right from the homepage. Dan and Julie, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today. I know it's a really difficult topic, but we really thank you for your time and your expertise.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kimi. And
Thank
just
you.
one more sentence, maybe 7 Plus, the kind of solidarity, and whoever wants to make a donation would be a part of this solidarity.
Right. And we're all in it together. And I think the way forward is together. So I love that. I love that. So from everyone here at 7 Plus, we wish our viewers a really wonderful and pleasant week. And thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.